ladies, Coach Angela here. Let's get started with our flow. We're actually going to begin at the back of your mat, so make sure that you keep that in the forefront of your mind after you've done your simple seated, done some breath work, and set your intentions. So we're going to begin at the back of our mat in standing mountain. Shoulders are going to relax. We're going to tuck that pelvis, keep that chin lifted, thinking about engaging those quads to lift the kneecaps, squeezing those shoulder blades together, chin is lifted, and we can close the eyes or we can rock back and forth, side to side, really just establishing that foundation. We're here for 5 breaths. Then we're going to go into side body bends. So we're going to lift up and over one side, come back through center, lift up and over second side. Ooh, I'm cracking already. And we're going to do that 5 times each side. Then we're going to come back to center. Exhale, bring hands to low back. Inhale, lift the heart and forward fold here. 5 breaths. We're going to release. Slowly inhale back up to the sky. Exhale, cactus. We're going to cactus to the right. Inhale through center. Exhale, cactus to the left. Inhale through center. Opening that chest up, but getting a little spinal twist in there. 5 times. Then we're gonna inhale, arms overhead, exhale, hands again to the low back, lift that chest, forward fold, hold for 5 breaths, release by way of the low back, and then walk hands to plank. So we're gonna, if we started at the back of our mat, we walk out into that plank, we're gonna hold for 10 counts, then we're gonna lower down into our cobra, inhale, lift the chest, exhale, forehead to mat, tops of the toes digging into the earth, kneecaps lifted because the quads are so engaged, inhale, lift, exhale, lower, inhale, lift, exhale, lower. Tuck those toes, plank to down dog. Inhale, come back through chaturanga, elbows in super tight. Inhale into up dog. Super tight glutes, thighs can come off of the mat. Try not to sickle the feet. Hold for 5 breaths. Exhale, tuck back to down dog. Inhale, come back to plank. Drop to forearm, and then we'll lower the hips into Sphinx pose for 5 breaths. So just like cobra, tops of the feet are pressing into the earth, kneecaps are lifted, walk the hands out farther to release any low back pain. You can look over the right and the left, come back through center after 5 breaths, release into child's pose. Tuck those toes, push back into down dog, right leg lifts, lizard pose here, 5 breaths. So we're gonna hold. We're probably still a little tight, so we may not be able to drop to our forearms, but if we can, that's where we wanna be. Releasing that outer hip, coming on the knife edge of that foot. Plant the hands, step in. Nice big inhale up. Exhale, swan dive. Inhale, halfway lift. Plant, jump or step back. Chaturanga or cobra. Up dog, down dog. Left leg lifts. Exhale, swing it through. Lizard pose here. Pause for 5 breaths. Drop to those forearms if you can. Otherwise, you're gonna stay here, really releasing that outer hip. After 5 breaths, step all the way into the top of your mat. Inhale up, standing mountain. Exhale, cactus those arms, opening that chest up nice and bright. And then we're gonna exhale. We're gonna step back with that left leg. So from here, left leg is going to step back into warrior 1. So right leg is front and center. We're gonna hold here. Then we're gonna clasp hands at the low back. Inhale into arching warrior, and then exhale, come parallel to the earth, halfway to that humble warrior. 5 breaths, release the hands, bring them to the front, step into that forward fold, inhale up into chair pose, and then we're gonna go into our prayer twist. So to the right, make sure you're digging into that right big toe to square those hips, open up through that rib cage instead of the shoulders, and then open arm twist. So we're gonna stay here for 5 breaths, come back through center, plant those hands, jump or step back into down dog, do your vinyasa, chaturanga, up dog, and then we'll step all the way back into the top. We're gonna meet in down dog. We're gonna inhale, left leg lifts, so that way it's at the top of the mat this time. Inhale into warrior 1, arching warrior here, making sure those glutes are super tight. Forward fold into that humble warrior, or halfway to humble, hold for 5 breaths, then we release, forward fold, chair pose, prayer pose to that left side, and then release here. After we do that, we're going to do our vinyasa. So we plant those hands, jump or step, chaturanga, up dog, back to down dog. Inhale, right leg, step all the way through, warrior one. Inhale, up, clasp hands at low back, arching warrior. Now we're gonna dive forward into that humble. So here I want you to really push that knee out of the way, tuck your chin, and imagine that you're gonna roll out of the top of your mat because you're tucking so far. Now most people have tendency to let their hips rock to the side. Encourage them to square and engage your inner thighs. Shoulder pushes into knee, knee pushing into shoulder. Hold here. Our release is going to be Skandasana onto the right side. So I drop into my right side, left leg is lifted. Option here for a half bind. So I'm reaching back behind with that right arm. Left arm comes up to the sky, or option for full bind. So you're there for about 10 breaths. Then we're gonna do our vinyasa. Inhale up, exhale, swan dive, halfway lift, jumper step, chaturanga, up dog. We'll repeat on that second side. Then after we've done that second side, we're gonna meet that forward fold, chair pose here, and then practice some crow. So remember, in that crow, it's like we're diving out over a cliff. So hands spread super wide, knees up in those triceps, come up on those big toes, and float here for at least 10 breaths. You've got 30 seconds to practice, then option to jump or step back to plank, chaturanga, up dog, back to down dog. So from here, inhale, right leg lifts. We're gonna come all the way up into warrior two. Hold here for 10 breaths. Reverse warrior, and then we're headed into extended side angle. So from here, I really like to crank that arm, crank it down here, and then open up through the shoulder in that extended side angle. So you can stay here, or we can play around with a half or a full bind. This is totally optional here. We're gonna come back through center, forward fold, chair pose, prayer twist to the right side, and then let's play around with some side crow. So planting hands on the earth, remember those triceps are your shelf. Come up off of those feet, keep that gaze looking out ahead. You'll do that second side, then we're gonna be back to our vinyasa. Right leg steps to warrior one, inhale up, arching warrior, humble warrior, release by way of the low back, inhale up warrior two, a little bit of footwork here, reverse, extended side angle, and from here, option for half moon. So I like to bring left hand to hip, plant that right hand out in front of the right foot, and slowly raise up. So idea is to have the hip and heel in line, open up into that half moon, and then you have the option for revolved half moon. So we're here, now we're gonna have the toes planted down to the earth, and we're gonna open up right arm to the sky. So difference there is that now, instead of having the foot flexed like this, here, we're gonna have it turned down to the ground and then open up so the hips can move with us into revolved half moon. So that's a challenging one, that's just an option. We're gonna repeat that on the second side, and then we're gonna meet back in forward fold, come into tippy toe, curl into a ball. We're gonna come into kneeling, and then we've got our camel. So we're gonna come into our kneeling position, tuck those toes under, and then it's just like a rotation with the arms to reach back to those heels. So core is engaged, hamstrings and glutes are working before we eventually bring right hand, and then left and hold here. Getting the chest and the hips open, squeezing those glutes. So rotation 5 times each side, and then a 5 breath hold. Then we're gonna transition into our belly. We're gonna do right side bow. So left reaches out, right reaches back to grab the foot and open here. You'll do that 3 breaths. Left side bow, reach back to that left side, right arm reaches out, and then option for full bow here, kicking into those hands, opening the chest. Then we have locust pose, hands at the low back. Inhale, lift the chest, squeeze those glutes, and then you're gonna exhale, relax, wiper those legs. You have pigeon, right and left side, 10 breaths. Then we're gonna roll onto our back, and it's time for Savasana.